Today we're going to learn about the parts of the brain and how they work. The human brain is the most important organ of the nervous system. It is located in the head and is protected inside the skull. Have you ever asked yourself why we breathe without realizing it, or why we remember our way to school without having to think about it? Our brain is in charge of coordinating all the vital functions of our body, making sense of what is happening around us. The brain receives signals from the outside world and sends messages to the different parts of the body so that they respond adequately. The human brain is divided into three parts: the cerebellum, the encephalic trunk, and the brain cortex. The cerebellum controls balance, movement, and coordination. Thanks to the cerebellum, we can walk, maintain balance, or do sports. The encephalic trunk connects the brain to the spinal cord, which goes from our neck all the way down to the lowest part of our back. The encephalic trunk is also in charge of the vital functions like breathing, for example, or digesting and pumping blood to all parts of our body. The brain cortex is the outermost layer of our brain. It consists of neurons, a type of interconnected cell that transmits information generated by nervous impulses. The brain directs our body. It receives signals from the outside world and sends messages so that different parts of our body, legs, arms, etc., respond adequately. For example, if we touched a hot dish, our brain would send a signal to our hand to quickly move it away. Goodness, that was close. We could get burned. The brain is divided into two major parts: the right hemisphere and the left hemisphere, which are interconnected by fibers known as hard body. The left hemisphere is in charge of important tasks like calculating, reasoning, and speech. The right hemisphere is in charge of tasks related to intuition and creativity. That's right, it's the hemisphere associated with music and art. Did you know that the right hemisphere controls the left part of our body, and the left hemisphere controls the right part of our body? What a crisscross! Both hemispheres consist of four lobes: frontal, parietal, temporal, and occipital. Each one carries out different brain functions. The frontal lobe is in charge of planning our actions and controlling emotions. The parietal lobe is in charge of giving meaning to the information received by the senses. The temporal lobe is in charge of functions related to memory and face recognition. And the occipital lobe is in charge of processing visual information. You can tell that our brain is a very important organ, and for this reason, we should look after it and exercise it. Here's 5 basic tips